Okay, it's day 134, and people ask me if MAVNI is 665,000 people coming into the United States, getting passports, remember, they're not just coming here illegally. How would that work? How could that possibly work? And just noticed every time I talk about MAVNI, or every time I see something about MAVNI, DACA is right behind it. DACA, MAVNI, DACA, MAVNI, DACA. It's almost like they're trying to say, we got these 650,000, 665,000 actually people. Boy, we'll just get them in under DACA. So they'll just come in right under the wire with all the DACA folks. And that's partially supported by the metadata. Trump keeps upping the number of people that he's willing to put in the DACA, and Democrats don't care. They want those 665,000. Those are the catalysts. I think those are the DNC catalysts, a lot of them. So, but everybody says, oh, come on now. The printer, the passport printer in Kingston's not going to print out 665,000. The State Department would notice the paper, being missing. And I agree with that. But there is this thing we've been talking about with exchanges and certificate authorities. And you can think of like a stock exchange, the first one under the buttonwood tree, and all that down in Wall Street. You agree, you trust me that I represent my company and I give you certificates, stock certificates, and same of you, I trust you, and we create an exchange, okay? That's the story of the New York Stock Exchange. Well, the electronic version of that is, you say I'm authorized to issue certificates, you're authorized to issue certificates, we create a certificate authority, basically an electronic version. It's done with encryption. It's called PKI and so forth. I have a distant relative who was an expert in setting these up all over the world. But anyway, that's the idea. Well, I keep remembering back to discussions I had with Field O'Connell when I went and visited him here in Wisconsin. He was saying, hey, this Federal Bridge Credit Authority, or Certificate Authority, was how they did it, was how Christine Marcy set it up, when she first came in as an EEOC. And I thought, she came in as EEOC. Who else do I know who is EEOC for small business? Laurel Everly, another key to the whole case if we ever got back to it. But anyway, he mentioned that his sister, that she set up this bridge basically for getting spies into the country, for paying them, and as well as getting them credentials so they could get a small business, getting them e-passports or getting them the credentials they needed for e-passports and so forth. And I thought that's the way to do this thing. Getting in the country is easy. You just go down to Arizona and you just come across the line where there's little helper beeper boxes to get you over the line at Fort Huachuca, right? The hard part is actually getting the credentials so that you can get a loan from the government, so you can get a loan from the house credit union, so that you can get a car loan, so that you can get a job at one of the DynCorp backbone companies. That's the hard part. The easy part is getting a passport printed. And then you can get your passport printed anywhere once you have an e-passport. You can just say you lost it and go in and, once you get other documentation. So I started thinking about this, this company, this Federal Bridge Certificate Authority. And apparently, and not only is the backbone of all the spy networks, it's also illegal. It's underneath the radar. And then I remember at Sun, we actually sold systems, and Trust was one software company that would help a private company set up, because you could do the same thing in a company. You could say, okay, we're the certificate authority for General Motors, and now we're going to give out a credential to every person that works for us, and that way we know it's General Motors email coming back and forth, no phishing attacks and that sort of thing. So I thought, okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. So maybe, just maybe, this is the key to the whole thing. The key to unwinding the whole thing electronically is these log files to these certificate authorities. Because when I was working at Sun with Entrust, if you just basically look at all the instances of the Entrust software and look at Entrust logs, you're going to be able to find out who got added when, and be able to match those up with what e-passport they got, what loans they got, et cetera, what social security number they eventually got assigned to. So I always like doing this, drilling down and thinking things through, because then it's more evidence that they have to destroy. Trust is an interesting background too. I've been told, again, this is way in the distant memory, that Northern Trust, I don't know if this is true or not, but Northern Trust started Trust, and Northern Trust was the old Harriman, Harriman Railroad, the old, go west, young man, and we'll send laudanum to your town doctor in the next on the next train. So who knows? I think it's Harriman.